Episode 103, Coffee with John and Audette Rackley.
Today is gonna be a little something more. I've got a plan in mind, a special thing in store. The light bulb inside my head says, get out and play, 'cause you never feel this way. It's my lucky day, it's my lucky day.
Well, welcome, friends. I hope that you're having a great day. And today I want to know, are you able to still laugh? I sure hope so. Well, you are listening to Coffee with John, Caregiver Success. We're all about inspiring stories. And today, we're going to have coffee with Audette Rackley. Now, Audette is the author of I Can Still Laugh, Stories of Inspiration and Hope from Individuals Living with Alzheimer's. In her book, she shares the stories of 13 men and women and their personal struggles with Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. Now, you will be inspired by learning their secret that minimizes the effects of their illness and allows them to continue to live exciting, active lives. But first, a good word for caregivers.
God cares for caregivers. Remember, He's one too. Say, it's the Lord who tells us, let not your heart be troubled. Now, it may be that you're feeling the troubles of it all. It's not an easy task to be a caregiver. We all know that. It can have its problems. It can have its difficulties. You can feel troubled. But if your heart is troubled, there's a problem. So you need to make sure that you don't let your heart be troubled. You see, it was in John chapter 14 where Jesus spoke that, not just once, but twice. He told his followers, don't let your heart be troubled. Why? Because the heart is the seat of your emotions. And if you're an emotional person, that means that you can feel your troubles very deeply in your heart, and that affects a lot of things because that's the center of your living. That's where you are and who you are, whether you're with somebody or you're all by yourself, and you want not to be troubled. You want to have a sense of peace that's perfect and passes all understanding, and that will keep your heart and your mind through Christ Jesus. Ask for it. He's willing to give it to you. If He tells us twice to not let it be troubled, He'll help you not to be troubled. Remember, God cares for caregivers. Remember, He's one too.
Welcome back. We're having coffee with Audette Rackley. Audette is the head of special programs for the Center for Brain Health at the University of Texas at Dallas. She's a member of the Center for Brain Health since its beginning in 1999, and Audette is head of special programs. She is a proponent of early detection and habits to promote healthy aging. Her current research focus is developing and conducting brain training programs for individuals with memory complaints and mild cognitive impairment. Now, her unique gift is helping people with cognitive impairments discover their strength and use it to help them to continue to live exciting, active lives. Audette, are you there?
I am here.
Well, welcome. We're so glad that you're spending some time with us this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You know, Audette, what I like to ask the first is, with what we're about to talk through, who is the ideal audience? Who do you want to listen to this podcast?
Well, that's a hard question to answer because there's a lot of people that come to mind, but I think my big focus is people in the broader community, because there's something called the Dementia Friendly Community Initiative that's out there, and one thing that I'm very passionate about is what do we do with people in the early stage of the diagnosis? Because this is kind of a group of people that often gets overlooked, and they have so much capability. One of my caregivers once said that people with early stage Alzheimer's are the most untapped volunteer resource out there. And I think that's so true. They have so much that they want to offer. They want to be productive. They want to stay involved in their family and in their community and in their friends, but sometimes, those avenues get blocked. And I think we could do a better job at keeping them engaged. And I think that really comes down to educating family and friends and the community at large, and help them know that it's okay to bridge that gap, and to find ways to help them bridge it.
So so what you're talking about is on the continuum of dementia or Alzheimer's. Really, what you're seeing is this unserved community at the early stages. What are some of the challenges that these people face as they've been diagnosed, and are they typically younger? What do they look like, and what are the challenges that they face?
Well, they can look very different. I mean, you can have people who are diagnosed before the age of 65. I mean, they might even be in their 40s or 50s, or they could be in their 70s and 80s. So you have this broad spectrum of people that can involve. But depending on the phase of life, I mean, let's just take, for example, someone who's still working. So they were having difficulties that they're having to maybe not work anymore, or they realize that driving at some point is not going to be something they can continue doing. So they're very focused on these losses and these changes that are happening. And then at the same time, if maybe friends are hearing, okay, they have dementia, and for some reason, maybe people quit calling. I mean, there's varied scenarios, but I would say the thing that I hear most from families is many times that avenue of communication is cut off with family and friends. And so then the family that's dealing with the diagnosis is also having to be the one to step out and initiate. And I've had families say that it's really the onus is on them to bring up the conversation. So there's just a sense of isolation and loss that is happening. And I know people find it so refreshing when maybe they come to explore one of our programs here at the center, and we start talking about, you know what? Even though things are changing, you still have a lot to offer. You still have a lot of life to live and a lot of capabilities, and we want to help you acknowledge that. And that resonates so much. People will say, wow, you are the first positive voice we've heard in this whole process. And that is so needed. And we need to do something about changing the mindset of the community at large, so that instead of focusing only on the negative stories, to realize that even though some of those stories are challenging, it's not the whole story. There's a bigger context, and we need to help each of us individually, and the people that we touch, help them know that, you know what, we're going to get through this together. I'm going to find a way that I can help you, or just really being creative in those ways that we can continue to stay involved in a way that is respectful and honors them as individuals.
So at the Center for Brain Health, now you guys have a discovery group that brings these early stage participants in. Can you tell us a little bit about the group, and what are the practical ways that you walk them through this journey and navigate the road?
Yeah, the discovery group, we're very fortunate. BVB Dallas, which is a young professional organization, actually has funded that the last couple of years, and they allow us to offer this program at no cost to the families, which is an incredible benefit because it is a research-based program. It is a clinical intervention. It's not just activity, or it's not a support group. Our goal is to gather a group of individuals that have had a recent diagnosis. So typically it's about 8 individuals, and we engage them in conversation. So based on what we know about the diagnosis, we modify the environment, kind of dial down the distractions, and we'll choose topics that are of interest and for the group members that can engage their world knowledge, which is more intact, their wisdom and opinions, which is more intact, and stay away from short-term memory, which is more difficult. So we'll have these discussions to engage the brain, the parts of the brain that are still, relatively intact, that they can call upon more easily. We also talk about the diagnosis, so many times they still have questions and they want to understand and kind of talk through that. So we will bring up topics of conversation so they can ask questions, get information, and just provide their own insights. And then we do a collection of life stories. So that taps long-term memory. Reminiscence is very important. And so we have the benefit, being part of UT Dallas, having master's level students in the Communication Disorders and Sciences program. And so they work with us as part of the group, and it's a practicum opportunity for them. And so they learn about how Alzheimer's impacts language and memory, but more importantly, how they can step in and facilitate success. So by the end of the semester, the group members have a collection of life stories that they can take home, and it can be just a family heirloom. It's one of the favorite parts of the program. But in addition, at the same time as the people with the diagnosis are meeting, we have a group for the care partners or the family members, where we continue to talk about our strength-based approach, and also to provide education and just kind of targeted topics for the family members.
I think one of the best kept secrets that's going on here in Texas is the amount of academic research that's going on with the aging population, with Alzheimer's and dementia. And I'm always fascinated to see and work with professional caregivers and academic researchers that are really on the front lines and the leading edge of providing some solutions to things like Alzheimer's. Can you tell me a little bit, when you say a strength-based approach, what does that mean? Help me as a layperson understand what that means.
Well, so we know, if we think about Alzheimer's disease, one of the things most people will know is that it impacts short-term memory. So long-term memory is more preserved, but short-term memory is going to be more difficult. So rather than creating a group where we say, what did you do yesterday? What did you read in the paper? So all these direct questions that are asking for recent factual information, we stay away from that. So we want to tap more long-term memory, or kind of recognition memory. So maybe we know someone's a baseball fan, and we know, there was some story. We might bring that up, and then they can apply their world knowledge. They can give us their wisdom or opinion. So they can pull up something that's been in their mind for years that they've rehearsed, and participate in the conversation and still succeed with something that they can easily access, versus failing on something because, as a communication partner, I'm just setting them up for failure.
Right. Now, you've also written a book, and it's called I Can Still Laugh: Stories of Inspiration and Hope from Individuals Living with Alzheimer's. What was the background on that, and what's in that book?
Well, the group started when we were coming across a number of individuals who were being diagnosed with Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia before the age of 65, and it was mostly men. And there was one of the individuals that we approached and said, hey, we'd love to get a group started. And this gentleman's name was Temple Stark, and so the group became the Stark Club. And these were individuals who they did not want to be part of a support group. They were, as I said, under the age of 65. So they really didn't want to just focus on the diagnosis, but they were willing to help someone else. So they said, I'll try it out and give it a try. And this was a group, they had an incredibly accomplished group of people, and just wonderful senses of humor, and just very much wanting to help other people. And so that group started meeting, and it really formed a lot of the foundation of the kind of the groups that we've had since then. But one of the things we did as part of the group was we were going through the book, The Greatest Generation, and every week we would speak about, one of the chapters of that book. And one of the group members said, we're a pretty accomplished group. We should write our own book. And so we decided we would do that. And it was an opportunity for them to give back to a way that they could tell their story in the hopes that it might help somebody else. And so it was a very meaningful project for them. And that's where how the book got its genesis. And the title, I Can Still Laugh, came from Temple Stark. He said, what I want people to know is that, yes, I have a diagnosis of dementia, but I can still laugh. He said, I can be realistic and laugh at the same time. So I just
laughter
loved
is
his
the
spirit.
best.
And that was,
laughter is the best medicine.
it is. It really, really is. And, it's also an incredible way to create community. And that's one thing. The group was mostly men. We did have a couple of women in the group, but there was such a camaraderie, and they could come together and share challenging stories and laugh with each other because they understood. And there was just such an incredible camaraderie that came from that time. And I think one reason that I'm so passionate about early stage is that, there's still that opportunity to create those bonds and those relationships that are so important. And, for something that does impact life to such, an obvious degree, there are challenging sides of the diagnosis. So how much more important is it that we have a community of people that can walk with us, and in an empathetic way, not from outside looking in, but, having people who are really part of, understanding what's going on and truly being a support for each other.
With everything that you've talked about, I'm always interested in how people got into the work that they're doing. And I know we spoke a little bit that you don't have your undergraduate. This was not your initial career. So what is your story? And give us a little bit of your journey of how you got to this point where you're helping people in the early stages of Alzheimer's.
Well, I was working in the computer software industry, and there's always a reorganization, and there was kind of an opportunity for me to take a package, and I was just really wanting to do something that helped people. So I decided I would get my master's in communication disorders and sciences, which is the fancy word for speech language pathology. And one of my electives was a class in dementia. And Dr. Sandra Chapman, who's my boss now, she was the teacher of that class, and she was starting a research project right when I was graduating. So I was fortunate to be able to be hired on and help her with that research project. And the focus of that research was with Alzheimer's, which I really never thought about working with, but it has been so incredibly rewarding.
I love those second career journeys, and I share that. I was also with a technology company, and the constant reorgs led to a severance package and a career shift. So that's fascinating to me. Well, as you kind of look into the future, what are some of the things that keep you up at night?
Well, that's a really good question. I think probably right now, the thing that I'm most aware of is because the baby boomers are aging, and I think most people are aware of, they may have heard the term, this tidal wave of dementia. I mean, Alzheimer's disease is, age is the number one risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. And so we know that this number is just going to be growing. And I think it's so important on so many different levels that we as a community, as a nation, I know there's an initiative to create communities that are more supportive to this, but I just think we need to do better, not only at how we support the people with the diagnosis, but their their family members, their spouses, those people who are providing primary care, to find avenues that we can provide support that is not just continually tapping families financially, because we just need to be better. And I think, we can be creative about that. We can solve that problem if we try, but it's going to take a lot of brains and a lot of passion and a lot of people just willing to knowing what it means. It's like people willing to step up and say, I'll do something. I'll be part of the answer.
Yeah. I think that you're exactly right. You hit on those dementia-friendly communities or multi-generational communities. And, this is not a problem that's going to just go away and be solved by throwing money at it. It's going to require some societal shifts and re-emphasis and refocus on connections and communities and intergenerational relationships. So that's fascinating.
Yes, I totally agree. And I've worked with some families that have just come up with some amazingly creative solutions. And I just, there's the community of the family that we have, and networks are different, but then there's a broader community as well. But it's just amazing how if you get a group of people around you to say, okay, we're your team, we're part of this. And then, just as an example, if you have time for this, I don't know. Do you have time for an example?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, there was a family that actually, the gentleman was in the Start Club, and his family actually once a month got together, and now you can go online and have calendars, but they got together and said, this is what's going on. And so the wife had 2 sisters that lived here, and they had lots of nieces, and everyone, and even the brother-in-laws, I think, would get together, and they would just kind of divvy up the challenge, the month, and people would do different things. I remember one Christmas I was out and I ran into Delbert in the mall, and he was with his nieces, and they were taking him out Christmas shopping.
So the whole family got involved. The nieces,
the whole family.
Wow.
One sister-in-law, she did something she called Tuesdays with Delbert, and she would pick Delbert up. They would do Meals on Wheels. They would go out to lunch. They might go bowling. They might go buy cards or gifts, or just do something fun. So every Tuesday she did that, and I just think, what a beautiful picture. And I think sometimes people just don't know how to help, but if they had, it's like you can do a practical thing just to say, hey, I'm going to pick you up and we're going to go to this event together. Or, if people like to go to the museum or golf, or it's like, so have an activity to do, or do it in the midst of other people. But I think, when you see, and for the family itself, when you feel that support, you're not so alone. And that is so important in a diagnosis such as this. And we need to help people know they're still cared for, they still have something to contribute, and once again, that we can all be part of the answer.
Wow. Now, if someone wants to learn more about what you're doing at the Center for Brain Health, do you have a website? Is there a place they can go to be involved in the discovery group, or to learn about what you're doing? Where can we send people to?
Well, yes, we have a website, centerforbrainhealth.org, and they can find a lot of information on there on the discovery group as well. And there's a nice video if they want to kind of get an inside look to it. But they can also, I'll just give you my phone number. They're welcome to call me for more information, 972-883-3405, and I'm happy to visit with them about it.
Well, Audette, thank you very much. And I also want to give mention the book again. It's called I Can Still Laugh, Stories of Inspiration and Hope from Individuals Living with Alzheimer's. And I see it's available on Amazon, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes. So Audette, thank you very much for being a part of the show. You really are, I think, providing some inspiration and hope. People get these diagnoses and they think, oh my goodness, life is over. And what you're sharing with us is that even if you have a tragic diagnosis like Alzheimer's, you can still laugh. And what wonderful work you're doing. And thank you so very much for being a part of Coffee with John.
Thank you, John. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you again, Audette, and thank you for being a part of Coffee with John, Caregiver Success. And once again, if you wanted to reach Audette, you can go to her website. It is centerforbrainhealth.com. And order a book. You can go to our website, coffeewithjohn.com. That's coffeewithjohn.com. And go to the resources tab, and we'll have a link to the book. Well, if you found this episode valuable, please do us a favor and subscribe to Coffee with John on iTunes and leave us an honest rating. Also, if you have any comments, ideas, and topic suggestions, connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. All of the links are available at coffeewithjohn.com.
Sip coffee on my couch. What can I do instead? No work, it's only fun, 'cause it's all okay. 'Cause you never